Hey Chauncey, thanks for joining us. So can you tell us a little bit about your father, Chauncey Spencer Sr.?
Thank you, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that. My father was born in Lynchburg, Virginia in 1906, November the 5th, and he saw his first airplane when he was 11 years old. His mother, Ann Spencer, a poet of the Harlem Renaissance, called him out, and his nickname was Woogie. So she said, "Woogie, Woogie, come out." And Woogie was playing with his Lionel train set in the basement of the house, and he ran out thinking his mother was in trouble. And she said, "Look up," and he looked up, and he saw his first airplane flying over the skies of Lynchburg, Virginia.
Is that right?
And so at this time, he's born in 1906, and he's 11 years old. We know that aviation didn't start until December of 1903 by the Wright brothers. So it hadn't been long that the airplane had been up in the air. And so my father had that dream, and so he built a wagon, and he got barrels and cut them out and got sheets, and he made his own airplane. So Lynchburg, Virginia is like San Francisco, very hilly. So he went up on Buchanan Hill, and you go down, he said he got to going so fast he felt lift. He thought he was flying. So he had built his first airplane off a little red wagon. And as he gets older, he goes to school, goes to college, and he graduates from Virginia Seminary and College. Virginia Seminary and College is the oldest African-American college in the United States at the time. And he graduates with a degree in sociology. But before he graduates, he's 16 years old when he's in high school, and his father, Edward Spencer, says, come on, get in the car, I'm gonna take you out to the airport. So he takes him out to the airport, and they go into the airport, and the white manager in there doesn't even look up, my father said he didn't even look up, and his father, Edward Spencer, said, "My son wants to take flight lessons." And the manager says, "We don't teach color to fly. They don't have the intelligence." That hurt my father, but it didn't stop him.
Mr. Spencer was dedicated, no doubt.
Dr. Earl Renfro was a dentist in Chicago, and he was one of the first African Americans to receive an instructor's rating as a pilot. And so over in the corner, there was a man by the name of Dale White. Dale White was working on a radio engine for Dr. Renfro. The plane had been crashed. And so my father comes into the dentist's office, and over in the corner, he sees this guy working on this aviation engine. He walks over and he introduces himself. He says, "Hi, my name is Chauncey Spencer. I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia." And Dale White says, "Hi, I'm Dale White. I'm from New Orleans." He says, "Wow." He said, "What you doing?" He said, "I'm working on this engine." He said, "I want to get into aviation." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what. After you talk to the doc, this evening I'll take you out to Harlem Airport on 87th Street and Harlem Avenue and introduce you to Cornelius Coffee." So from there, the relationship started. My father had no brothers, 2 sisters, so Dale became my father's brother. And they became very, very close. And so Dale started picking them up after work. They both worked for the WPA, which was the Work Progress Administration, the beginning of welfare that Roosevelt created after the war and after the Great Depression. People were they were worked for by the federal government, and it was called the WPA. So my father was in the writers program, and he was working on a book called The Black Metropolis in Chicago, where 200,000 light-skinned blacks migrated from the south to the north and ended up in Chicago. And wow. Horace Cate and Sid St. Clair were the 2 authors of that book. And so Horace Cate was close with my father, and both of them knew my grandmother because she was a poet of the Harlem Renaissance. My grandmother's home is now a national landmark, so Ann Spencer was very influential with movers and shakers in the black community.
That's some historical information right there.
That we have to teach our kids, black, brown, green, white, blue, whatever. We have to teach our kids that we're all Americans and we're all entitled to the same opportunities, but we have to put skin in the game. If we're not willing to take that sweat equity, then don't think about equity, because if you don't have no sweat, 0 from 0 equals what? 0. And that's how I do it. And they normally get into bonding. And then they ask me about how many things I've done. So I've been a police officer for 9 years, state police in Ohio. I got a master's degree in mechanical engineering. I build race bikes. I build nitromethane race bikes in Detroit. I build drag cars. I'm a teacher. I'm a historian. We have our own. But he gave us the options of what your opinions may create for yourself. But he didn't tell you not to do it. He just said be prepared for your actions because they may have reactions. That's what I learned.
Great talking to you. Great talking to you. Chauncey Spencer, ladies and gentlemen, Junior, son of great Chauncey Spencer Sr. We're going to be telling some movie stories about these 3 things.